I'm back. Hi, I'm Rick. This is You Can Cook. Today is one of my all-time favorites, sweet and sour pork. Stay tuned. Roll that intro. Now, some people think that making sweet and sour pork is a very intricate and difficult dish to make, but actually it's quite easy. And one of the very first things we do is we make a marinade for the pork. But first, let me just discuss a little bit about the pork. I use two different cuts of pork. Half the times I use probably pork shoulder. The other time I use what I'm using today, which is the pork tenderloin. That's guaranteed super melt in the mouth tender. I'm using that today. I've cut that in chunks. If you're using the pork shoulder, I do what I call a double fry, a double deep fry. So these are going to get deep fried once they're ready to go. If I use the pork shoulder, I get them about half done. I take them, I cool them, and put them in the refrigerator, and then I cook them again. So they always turn out so much nicer. But with this, because it's such a tender cut of pork, you don't need to do that. To make the marinade for that, I've used probably a tablespoon of soy sauce, maybe a tad bit more. I've used just a couple of drops of the sesame oil. I've used maybe half a teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice. I've grated a little bit of ginger in there. I've also grated, got the juice out of about a quarter of an onion. The onion and the ginger is optional, and with the ginger, you don't want it to take over the pork. And I just stir it up. I let that sit 10 minutes. If I forget, it's an hour. I come back and I add about 1 to 2 tablespoons corn flour and an egg. I stir that up and it kind of gets it all, well, as you can see there. Now from this point, this will make a nice crust, but what I like to do is I like to put it into a bag of just plain flour. You can use any flour you like. I use plain flour. It's a bit heavier than the corn flour and the arrowroot and the rice flour and all that sort of thing, but whatever you use, it's just going to make more of a crust. Nothing like you get in those fast food takeaway, those Chinese shops where it's just all batter. Okay, nothing like that, but it's going to be very nice. You're going to see. The other thing is you've got to make your sweet and sour sauce. You start off with about 200 milliliters of water, or 250, about a cup of water. I actually use the juice out of the can. I normally don't do that, but I bought this about a week ago. It's still just about as green as you can get. So I've had to go, I always have this just in case. Okay, this is nicer, especially if you get a sweet one, but this will get you out of trouble. Besides, you can't have pork sweet and sour without your pineapple. Without pineapple, it's kind of like having a pizza without cheese. Anyway, so you get about a cup of liquid, water or this. Then I take about 50 milliliters of mirin, 50 milliliters of vinegar. In this case, I've used rice wine vinegar. Normal vinegar will work. And about 2 or 3 tablespoons of ketchup, tomato sauce. Now, what I forgot to do is anytime I make something sweet, one of my tricks is to add a little bit of salt. In this case, it's going to be the chicken salt. And it just does something to it. It adds a little bit more oomph to it. It doesn't have that, all of a sudden it doesn't have that sickly sweet sort of like candy. Okay, so that's ready to go. Apart from that, when we start to fry, we've got our onions. We've got the capsicum, green and yellow. I've used yellow because, quite simply, I had yellow capsicum. Normally I wouldn't do that. I was usually just green. And obviously the second-rate pineapple, but that'll get us out of trouble. Let's go cook this up. I put my peppers in first. Carrots. Now my onions. I wanted to go another minute, minute and a half with my onions. Now, how nice is it with all those different colors? You can see the onions are just starting to get a little tiny bit translucent. So those are just about ready. Let's throw the pineapple in. The meat is still warm. We probably won't put all that in there. So we're going to put about half of this in to start with and see how thick it gets. There's at least a cup and a half in there, so it takes a little bit of time to get up to the point where it will thicken. That's it, ready to serve. And as always, there's only one more thing to do. A little bit of garnish, which is sesame seeds, roasted of course. So look, I hope I've inspired you all to at least try that. There's different variations, or different things you can put in the sauces, or you can use different meats. But try that, you'll find that very, very, very nice. And I've already done this, but I've tried a little bit of the pork just on its own to see how it comes out with the marinade and the way it's fried. Oh. It's that good, it should be against the law. It's juicy, it's super tender because we use the pork loin. It's a nice crust, super nice flavor. So get in that kitchen, whip up something like this, make it your own, change some of the ingredients if you like, but get in there and do it. We all have to eat. We might as well make something that we really enjoy. I'm Rick Michelle. Make sure you subscribe right here. This is You Can Cook. We'll see you next time.